Hey, this is science for Thursday, December 3rd, and I'm going to do like I did yesterday, and I'm going to read the new material first, and then we're going to review for the test. So let's start with reviewing mammals. Okay, remember we said there's two kinds of animals. There are vertebrates, which are animals with a backbone, and invertebrates, which are animals without a backbone. And then under vertebrates, the animals with the backbone, we have your mammals, your fish, your amphibians, your reptiles, and your birds. So that's 5 different categories. So we've already talked about mammals. Then yesterday we talked about fish. Today we're going to talk about amphibians. And tomorrow we'll talk about reptiles. And then the last category we'll talk about is birds. So let's look at the characteristics of mammals. Mammal characteristics, number 1, they make milk for their babies and take good care of their young. Number 2, no mammal has more than 4 limbs. Remember, limbs refer to legs, arms, wings, or flippers. Wings, not of birds, but of bats. Okay, they have at least some hair or fur. Remember, we said that even whales, when they're born, have a tiny bit of hair on them, and sometimes they lose it before they become adults. All mammals have lungs and breathe air. All mammals are warm-blooded. This means their body temperature stays about the same no matter what the outside temperature is. All right, the second one we're going to look at is fish characteristics. This is what we looked at yesterday. Number 1, all fish have gills. This is instead of lungs. They take their oxygen from the water with gills. All fish have fins. Okay, that's what they use to swim. And all fish are cold-blooded. This means their body temperature changes with the outside temperature. So when it's warm, they can move quickly. And when it's cold, they slow way down. It goes for all cold-blooded creatures. Right. And today we're going to be doing amphibians. So let's go ahead and look at the characteristics, and then we'll read, and we'll see it again in our reading. Amphibian characteristics. All amphibians breathe with gills in water when they are born, and some breathe with lungs on land later. So that would be like when they're a tadpole. After they hatch from an egg and they are a tadpole, they have gills, and they stay in the water. And then they gradually change. They have a double life. That's what amphibian means, double life. And they change to a creature that has lungs and can breathe on land. All amphibians have smooth, moist skin. All amphibians lay eggs, and all amphibians are cold-blooded. So again, their body temperature changes with the outside temperature. When it's warm, they can move around freely, and when it's cold, they slow way down. Okay? All right, so that's what cold-blooded is. All right, so pick up your books now. If you need to pause the video while you find the page, 169. 169, you must be on that page. So pause the video if you're not there yet. Terms to remember, read those with me. Instinct, what God gives animals to know how to survive and do their jobs. Camouflage, the ability to blend in with surroundings. If you're hunters, then you know that camouflage, except for then you need to wear orange vests so other hunters can see you. You don't want to be too camouflaged. And then burrow, a tunnel or hole some animals dig for shelter. All right, amphibians. Have you ever held a frog in your hand? If you have, then you have held an amphibian. The word amphibian means living a double life. In a way, amphibians do have 2 lives. They are water animals before they live on land. Amphibians lay slime-like eggs in water. They do not stay to take care of their babies. Amphibian babies know how to survive when they hatch. They know how to swim and find food. How can this be if they have not been taught? God gave animals instincts that help them know how to survive and do the job He planned for them. So their mothers don't have to teach them. Their mothers do not take care of them, like mammal babies are taken care of by their mothers for a while before they go to live on their own. Amphibians do not. Turn the page. When the eggs hatch, baby amphibians do not look at all like their parents. Have you ever seen a tadpole swimming in a pond? A tadpole looks very different from a frog. Baby amphibians breathe oxygen by using gills. As they grow, some kinds will develop lungs. They will use these lungs when they are grown and live on land. All right, so you see a picture there. They show the slimy eggs, and they hatch into a tadpole. Gradually, little legs will start to appear on the tadpole, and then the legs will grow, and as the legs are growing, that tail begins to disappear, and then when it's an adult frog, it no longer even has a tail, and it can live on land. So that is the life cycle of a frog there. All right, now besides frogs, there are two other kinds of amphibians. That would be your toad and your salamander. So frogs, toads, and salamanders. Those are just the three types of amphibians. So any frog, any toad, any salamander. Amphibians have smooth, moist skin. They do not have scales like a fish does. Their skin is very important because because they get most of their water through it. They can also breathe through their skin. Like fish, amphibians are cold-blooded. Do you remember what it means to be cold-blooded? Amphibians are the same temperature as their surroundings. They cannot make their own body heat. Some amphibians are frogs, toads, and salamanders. All right, top of the next page. A caecilian is an amphibian that almost looks like a snake or a worm. And that's what you see in that first picture there. A newt is a kind of salamander. Most amphibians will eat anything they can find, whether it is a plant, insect, or other small animal. So if they're eating plants and animals, what do you call that kind of creature? Omnivore. Omnivore, right? Can you remember what we call animals that eat both plants and other animals? If you guessed omnivore, you are correct. Many animals depend on amphibians for food. To help keep their population balanced, God created amphibians with excellent camouflage. Camouflage is when an animal blends into its surroundings. Can you see how this amphibian hides? Now that last frog, he blends in really well with those lily pads. He is harder to see, isn't he? So that's camouflage for him. He blends in with the surroundings. Many amphibians, like frogs, make burrows for homes. Burrows are tunnels or holes that some animals dig. Frogs often share their burrows with other amphibians who cannot make them. All right, and there's our amphibian characteristics. Number 1, all amphibians breathe with gills in water when they are born, and some breathe with lungs on land later. Number 2, read them with me. All amphibians have smooth, moist skin. Number 3, all amphibians lay eggs. And number 4, all amphibians are cold-blooded. All right, on the next page, it does tell you how that you could observe tadpoles growing into a frog. They show you how to take an aquarium and make a nice sandy beach for when they do need to live on dry land, and fill the other side with some pond water and some plants, water plants and rocks, and then have some tadpoles. And it says to use for food for the tadpoles hard-boiled eggs. So they would need to be nice and warm, because remember they're cold-blooded, so you'd probably have to have some kind of heating lamp, or have to do this during the summertime when it was warm, or in the spring when it was warmer. And as the tadpoles get bigger, you will feed them pieces of egg, I guess. Not right away. So, and you can observe them and their growth. All right, tomorrow we'll be talking about reptiles. Right now, let's review for the test. I'll pull down this chart now. All right, and let's review the solar system chart. This will be on the test. You will have to name these. So this is the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And again, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Excellent. All right. What is the star that is closest to the Earth? Hopefully you have remembered I've said this star. The sun is a star. That's the star that's closest to the Earth. So the sun is the star that's closest to the Earth. When all of the moon is visible, we call it the full moon. Very good. What is a small piece of space rock traveling in space? Small piece is the key here. So meteoroid. Meteoroid. Remember, a big piece of rock orbiting the sun is an asteroid. All right. What is the sun and all the heavenly bodies that orbit it? I'm not going to move this time. You need to remember it. It's the solar system. Solar system. All right. Something natural or man-made that orbits the Earth. Natural or man-made that orbits Earth. Satellite. Remember, the moon is the natural satellite, and then there's lots of man-made satellites up there orbiting Earth. A group of stars that make a picture. Constellation. Constellation. That word that means suitable for life. Suitable for life. Habitable. Habitable. Earth. Being the only habitable planet. The only planet suitable for life. The star that is almost always right above the North Pole. That would be the North Star. Very good. The North Star. Scientists who live and work in space can do so in what? Scientists in space can live and work in a space station. Space station. Well, the things that God created to stay the same are called what? Staying the same means they are constant. The things that God created to stay the same are constant. What about the 4 planets that are farthest from the sun? The outer planets. The ones closest to the sun are the inner planets. Outer planets, inner planets. Right? The tilt of the Earth gives us our what? Okay, remember we said when the Earth is tilted toward the sun, when the Earth is tilted away from the sun, it gives us our seasons. So the tilt of the Earth gives us our seasons. And the moon reflects the light of the sun. The moon does not have its own light. It reflects the light of the sun. What is a natural satellite of Earth? We already said that something natural or man-made that orbits the Earth is a satellite. So what is the natural satellite? The moon. Because God made the moon. Man didn't make the moon. The natural satellite of the Earth is the moon. The moon's gravity affects the ocean tides. The ocean's tides. The moon's gravity affects the ocean's tides. Remember, it said the moon's gravity causes high tide and low tide. Then high tide, then low tide. It's a continual pattern. Constant. It's a constant. Okay? It stays the same. Keeps repeating itself over and over. High tide and low tide. The Earth continually spins or rotates on its axis. Remember the globe, that pole in the middle, that it spins on that pole. We said in real life you can't see it. But to make a globe, you have to have one that you can see, an axis. So the Earth continually spins or rotates on its axis. All right. The smallest planet. It's also the one that's closest to the sun. Mercury. Very good. Mercury. The brightest planet, also Earth's twin. Okay, so here's Earth. The one that's almost the same size would be Venus. Very good. All right. The largest planet. It also has a great red spot. That's Jupiter. Jupiter. The largest planet with rings? That would be Saturn. Saturn. The planet that's tipped on its side. That would be this one right here, and you can actually see rings going around it the wrong way. That's Uranus. Uranus, the planet tipped on its side. The red planet, it's this one right here. That's Mars. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Very good. And the planet that takes the longest to orbit the sun. That would be the one that's furthest away from the sun. So that would be Neptune. And the planet that is habitable. The only planet that is habitable is Earth. Earth, habitable, suitable for life. You need to know that word too. All right, what is the center of our solar system? The sun. Just looking in here, you can see the sun is the center of all the planets orbiting around it. The sun is the center of the solar system. Planets orbit the sun because of the sun's gravity. The pull of the sun keeps them in place so they don't just go flying off somewhere else. The gravity of the sun keeps them in place in their orbit. So planets orbit the sun because of the sun's gravity. What is a hole on the surface of the moon or another planet? A hole made by something crashing into it would be a crater. Very good. Crater. And when North America, which is where we live, is tipped toward the sun, North America is having summer because it's tipping towards it, so it's warmer. That's when it's warmer, it's summer. Okay, so when North America is tipped toward the sun, it is summer in North America. Our solar system is part of a galaxy called Milky Way galaxy. Milky Way, just like the candy bar, the Milky Way galaxy. That's our solar system. This solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. What is a continual path around the sun called? Orbit. Orbit. Continual path around the sun. We're talking about all these planets orbit the sun. So a continual path around is orbit. All right, the other thing you need to know is ways the Earth is designed for life. All right, so we talked about these yesterday, and we said one way Earth is designed for life is its position in the solar system. All right, position in the solar systems. Some of the planets are too close to the sun, they're too hot. Some of the planets are farther away from the sun and they're too cold. All right, we also said its distance from the sun. I may have forgotten to write one of these yesterday. I don't remember if I wrote that one. Distance from sun. It is a perfect distance from the sun, right? Another is the temperature. We have a temperature that is habitable for people and animals, okay? The next would be the fact that we have plant life. We have plant life, and we said plants are necessary for life. All living things must depend on plants to live. All right, and then we have the right atmosphere. You would need to say the right atmosphere because all the planets have some kind of atmosphere, but it may not be good for us to breathe. All right, then we have weather. The right kind of weather. And we also have a water cycle, where we constantly have water for us to use here on Earth. All right, make sure you're studying for this test. This test will be on Tuesday after we get back from distance learning. Right? Let's see for History